Hello, everybody, and welcome back to LSL. I am Nox. I am joined here by Falco Flyer, and we are going into our semifinals here with Blitzwave versus ZESTFEST.
Yes, now we are approaching the top four, where we will have a best of five coming up. Both of these teams actually came from the same group, which is pretty amazing. ZESTFEST coming out on top at 4-0, and Blitzwave coming out at 3-1. Not sure if they played each other during the group stages, but this should be a good one for sure, Nox.
It definitely should be. I'm so excited to see how it goes. I also do just want to talk about their icons right now because they're both very fun for very different reasons.
Yes. We'll start with Blitzwave. What jumps out to you for that one?
Well, I love the use of the yellow inkling eyes. They're not ones that we see used a ton, but they're actually some of my favorites in the game, and I love the attention to detail on the fact that the pupils are actually slightly blue with that set of eyes, and it's just so cool to see. Like, I love seeing all the different team art and all the profiles and stuff. It's so cool to me. And I love seeing the really well done art. Obviously, it's incredible. But also, the beautiful masterpiece ZESTFEST has is truly something.
Oh yes, I agree. Gotta love what I would assume is MS Paint, MS Paint at its finest. But I could not draw anything like any better or remotely.
Oh, absolutely, I couldn't.
Skilled.
I love seeing both.
Yes, absolutely. But yeah, both of these teams now in the top four. ZESTFEST, let's see how well they've done so far in the gold bracket, since they have not, they did not drop a game in the group stage, and it looks like they've only dropped one game in round two. And I mean drop a set, not drop a game. But yes, they did beat Rogue Waves 2-1 after beating TBD 2-0, which got them here in the top four. Whereas Blitzwave, they have also only dropped one game against the Whip Rays in the quarterfinals, and then the top 16, and then beating Torrent 2-0 in the quarterfinals.
That is incredible to hear. I'm really excited to see how these two teams do against each other. Obviously, they've been having really, really solid runs so far, and it's so wonderful once we get to these ending points of tournaments, and we get to see these teams that haven't had to really take many losses have to figure out what to do when they're down games and how to bounce back from it.
Yeah, and of course, this being the first best of five set that is in this tournament, the stakes will be a little bit different, just maybe a little more breathing room than having the pressure of potentially three in a row, best of three sets. But yeah, we will be starting off with Splatzone's Macomart, the final destination, if you will, of Splatoon 2 at least, and kind of have seemed to carry over into Splatoon 3.
Yeah, it's definitely a map that I have seen quite a lot of. It's definitely a very consistent pick among tournaments.
It has, and then we are starting our counter pick phase of the tournament as well. So the losing team will get to have say in what their counter pick is. But yeah, no better way to start off than what most of these teams are all too familiar with, Splatzone's Macomart. So we're going back to it, switching up from Clan Blitz, putting some zones in there. You know, what's interesting, I actually don't know all of the maps that are in rotation right now, but if Undertow is there, this is the one time we're allowed to play it, since it's not being overtaken by the Salmonids. They've agreed for a tournament that we could play there, potentially for Rainmaker, if they wanted to, but we'll see.
Maybe some tower control if we're feeling really wild.
Maybe some tower control. I'll take a look now and see which Undertow stages in particular or modes in particular are in the map list as we look at the map pool. And it looks like it is, yeah, it's just tower control. You're right. It is just tower control. So no Rainmaker even at that. So
yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
Undertow is always an interesting counter pick to go into because a lot of teams, especially with tower control, haven't practiced it quite as much as a lot of other maps.
Yeah, it's one of those that you never really know if it's going to pop up, other than maybe when the tournament releases the stages, just because it's one of those I don't think a lot of people are totally sold on as far as what they want to play. So definitely a less familiar map and mode combination. But who knows? Maybe we'll see if we get to it, unless the Salmonids still want to invade it. I'm curious, though, have you been playing much Big Run so far?
I have been playing some. I'm hoping to get some friends together and play it later so I can actually push for a decent egg count, but with a group of randoms I got 120, which is fine. it's fine. It's not good enough for the statue I want, but
Yeah.
it's something.
Hey, it's a good starting point, and you have over 24 hours to continue that. So, yeah, best of luck to you. I've played for about 5 hours already, and I think I'm playing more tomorrow. But other than that, I'm just kind of a little burnt out on it. But it's been fun so far.
5 hours of Big Run will do that to you, but it's such a rare event. You gotta play all the way through it. It's just like when a Splatfest pops up. It's like, well, I guess I gotta do this now.
Yeah, certainly. It's always a good surprise to have.
It is. I find it to be very fun, and I love that it's random weapons and kind of forces you to try and learn new things. As somebody who went from being a one trick to flexing too much, it's an interesting journey for me.
Yeah, especially when you get some of those rotations that are just kind of oops, all chargers, or not very paint friendly.
Oops, all rollers.
Oops, all rollers. Let's hop in here to our top 8. Speaking of rollers, we're going to see Alexo using what seems to be that carbon roller as we hop into this first game. And we do see the heavy, it's going to be the heavy deco coming out from Krungle, which is the point sensors and Kraken.
Yeah, I really love seeing that Heavy deco come out here. Heavy already can do really well on this map, but that Kraken allows it to play even more aggressively. That Carbon already going down thanks to the high paint output coming out from ZESTFEST. And we are seeing people already trying to take these stacks, but the crowd coming out really denying Sauver here.
Oh yeah, and Sauver tried to hide, but unfortunately it was caught for them as ZESTFEST was in control of the zone, but Blitzwave quickly able to take it back over. But now some of their players are spotted. Ooh, and a nice pick there. It looks like that's going to be some support from one of their teammates as well. We're going to see the Kraken try and push into the zone, getting 1 pick, getting 2 picks. 3 are now going to be down. Is this going to be the 4? It is just going to be the Carbon. That is going to be the wipeout. So this is going to be where ZESTFEST tries to push forward and start their lockout phase.
Yeah, ZESTFEST doing a great job here of moving forward. Maybe should have painted up behind them a little bit since they don't really have a backing up option right now, but the Bubbler coming out from this junior kind of saying, we don't need to back up, we'll just keep holding it. Really great use of specials coming out so far. Really love the Heavy staying in that bubble to allow them to keep that pressure up, and we are seeing a lot of paint coming out from both sides. The Roller trying to find some picks with that Zuka, but not quite finding any.
Yeah, and ZESTFEST here, yeah, you want to get that cap once again just to avoid any penalty points, and you have the player advantage. 2 players are now going to be down, 3 players going to be down. It is just going to be the machine who is alive. We see the Gal here protecting the right stack and painting all around the zone as they are continuing this lockout phase. Killer Whale used to kind of identify where some of these players are as like a very, say, weak point sensor as to which direction you should go for. But right now, this is working out very well for ZESTFEST.
Yeah, ZESTFEST has been doing an incredible job of knowing what areas they need to hold to keep the zone. They do need to focus paint here a little bit as the Kraken comes out, forcing that splash out of position, forcing that zap down. And that's probably going to be game as a wipeout happens again. What an incredible dominant game out of ZESTFEST there.
Yeah, and I think really what kind of led to that was the use of the Kraken, which in zones might be a little unconventional for a special that kind of is the one that's leading the way and getting some of the picks, but from what we saw, it really seemed to work out for ZESTFEST. Seemingly no contest until, you know, the beginning. It was, you know, Blitzwave had a few moments where they were able to get a few picks here and there, cap the zone, but once ZESTFEST got the ball rolling, it was very hard to stop them.
It definitely was. I'm really interested in seeing what mode Blitzwave wants to counterpick to here. Not Blitzwave, sorry. Yeah, no, I meant Blitzwave. I was right. I'm really interested in seeing what mode they want to go to, because it seems like they might not feel as confident on zones, or maybe it's just Mako zones that they might not happen to love as much. But with that Kraken coming out from that Heavy, it's going to make like modes like Tower Control and Rainmaker pretty challenging.
Yeah, I think so too. And then, I mean, even with Clan Blitz and getting kind of like that Kraken jump too, if you're not going to have a brush, you could have a special that kind of does that. But, you know, I think it really depends on how well you use the Kraken. And of course, in zones, it seems like one of those modes that is not as commonly utilized, but it seemed to pay off, especially with the weapon. Like the Heavy Deco, I feel like a lot of players kind of have mixed feelings about that weapon in particular, just with it not having a lethal sub, and then your Kraken runs out, you're a backline, you're kind of standing there, what do you do? But it seemed to work out for ZESTFEST.
It does. I actually think that both of the Heavies have really, really solid kits. I play both of them quite a bit. Obviously, they're not as strong as maybe Ballpoint. Ballpoint is a little ridiculous right now. Not to any means where it can't be beaten, but I find Heavy Deco to have a really good niche of being able to play that really aggressive backline that otherwise Heavy can struggle a bit with, just because Wavebreaker doesn't allow you that sense of self-defense.
Yeah, certainly. That's very true. And yeah, we see Blitzwave still trying to figure out what kind of counter pick they want to make here. But I think what you said about zones, you know, when you go down, I'll say that quickly, that's not going to really be a counter pick mode that I want to try. It looks like we are moving on to Clam Blitz Flounder. A very interesting choice here. And this isn't a mode I don't think I would ever choose just because I don't like Flounder in general, but I like a Clam Blitz counter pick on game 2. I feel like sometimes teams are a little hesitant on choosing Clam Blitz right away as a counter pick, but I'm liking this choice even though if it personally wouldn't be for me.
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting choice. It's definitely, I like having Flounder Heights in tournaments. Do I like playing it? No. Do I think it's an interesting way to try and figure out new rhythms to the game and ways to force people to have to adapt? Absolutely, yes. And I think Clam Blitz on it is extremely interesting because it can have these insanely big pushes, because that's just what you do on Flounder Heights. You get really big pushes and you hope the other team doesn't KO.
Well, as much as we were excited about this particular map and mode, we are just getting word that this was not in the pool that the teams could choose from. So I believe there will be another counter pick that will be coming up. Because that's why I was surprised by this choice too. I was like, oh man, okay, Flounder Clams. We didn't memorize the map list, but yeah, there's gonna be it looks like a different potentially different map. I don't know. They could completely change the mode too. I guess they're up to whatever the mode. Whatever's going to be in the map list they could choose from. But yeah, I was going to say that one initially caught me off guard, but now it makes sense. I was like, okay, yeah, this one's not in the map pool list.
Yeah, I do think that we can probably expect to see them, if they stick with Clam Blitz, to try and go for something a little less conventional. Maybe we'd see a Humpback or a Barnacle Dime. I'm actively looking at the map list as I'm saying this. Maybe even like a Scorch Gorge if they really wanted. Not as out there, but definitely a map mode where you can take advantage of interesting strategies, and they can find maybe more value out of something niche that they might not always get to run.
Yeah, and I think too, we don't know how well these two opponents know each other, but one of the things that we kind of bring up in a different type of tournament, maybe a higher level, is you're thinking about what your strengths are and what your opponent's weaknesses are. And of course, in a lower level environment where you have a ton of new teams, you don't know much about your opponents, so you really can only rely on what your gut feeling is for a particular map and mode that you would like to play. So it looks like the counter pick will be Humpback Clams. Now, we've seen this very often in Splatoon 2, but Nox, I want to hear your thoughts on this one.
So Humpback is actually my favorite map from any Splatoon game, so obviously I'm thrilled to see it. I think that Big Bubbler is really strong here, so if they have anyone that's comfortable on a junior, that could do well here. I do think that the Heavy from ZESTFEST might struggle here a bit. It tends to be a map that the mobility of Heavy, while it's great, has a hard time with all of the ups and downs and twists and turns of Humpback. So we might see them switch over to something. It's definitely a map that I can see being a really solid counter pick because people won't have had as much time on it in 3. And so if you happen to have a strategy you've developed for it, that's going to benefit you greatly.
Yeah, and I think too what can be difficult is, we thought of this map in Splatoon 2 as a backline map where you're just going to kind of farm specials and push forward when you can. But you're right about kind of having your Heavy potentially struggling in that situation. We've seen a ton of Sea-Jets in Splatoon 2, but we know Jet Squelcher now having the Ink Vac, which might not be as lethal as missiles were before. But that's true. That's very true. We could. We could see the Sea-Jet to come out, but yeah, it just kind of depends on what you want to do with your backlines and how you want to push forward. But again, this map and mode in particular, if you drop down on defense in front of your basket and don't know where these clams are coming from, it's going to be very hard to defend, as you either got to go all the way around or jump back. Let's take a look at these comps. Nox, what are we seeing?
It looks like we are seeing... I love seeing that 52 gal come out here. Always a great weapon. I love seeing Krungle on that Explo. I think that is an incredible pick for this map mode. definitely a good map to switch off of Heavy for, and the amount of paint pressure and chip damage that Explo applies is just going to allow their other weapons to run around so freely, and that Carbon's going to have a great time here. This has always been a great Carbon map, and that has not changed between games.
Yeah, like you said about the chip damage from the Explo, and just kind of there's so many bumps and grooves in this map too that sometimes you're not going to know where the Explo shots are coming from. Look at this one power claim already formed for ZESTFEST, pushing close to the basket, but unfortunately not going to get there in time as they're still applying some pressure and now cornering in on it. Looks like the Carbon is going to go down. All members of ZESTFEST pushing up towards the basket, but have no power claims at the ready. And it's actually Blitzwave who has more power claims in their possession, but map control still on the side of ZESTFEST.
Yeah, definitely a situation where they can fairly easily get back map control with a couple specials. That T-Tex trip strikes can definitely help clear out mid really, really well. The Zap can enable them to move in quickly, and the Carbon, if they can get enough paint on the ground, can cause a lot of havoc in a very short amount of time, especially with the fact that Killer Whale was just out.
That's right, and now about a little over a minute in, we still have no score, but look at this, ZESTFEST trying to push up. This is going to be, I believe that is the Carbon who's trying to get a score in. Oh no, that was not the Carbon. I couldn't see that was. I believe that may have been the NZAP who was going to score and then go down right away. But there's not going to be any follow-up with that. It's just going to be one single power clam in. And this is just kind of the battle of mid that we've seen all too often in Clam Blitz, of trying to win your 1v1s, trying to get your fights, waiting for that perfect opportunity to strike. And now it looks like ZESTFEST is still on the move, trying to get some more momentum going.
Yeah, they definitely are. It seems like both teams are kind of just using their specials as they get them, which is going to make this game a lot harder for both of them, making it more focused on those 1v1s rather than having those specials to move up with. But it's definitely allowing both teams to keep a decent foothold on mid for both sides really right now.
And now Blitzwave still using some of their specials, trying to push forward. Haven't really had control of the map this entire time. But look at this, a few key picks going down, but they really have no claims that they're working with. We see the Carbon here having 6 claims, still just hanging out by the enemy basket. They have 7. There's still one more that's on the other side this way to try and get another clam to get some push going. But unfortunately, having a point sensor on them and trying to avoid some of these killer whales, it was not going to be the push that they're going to have.
Yeah, loved seeing that Zuka get popped there. Loved what they were trying to do with it. They didn't quite find the picks they needed with it though, and that did force the, and that is going to allow ZESTFEST to keep that hold of mid that they've had so far. Gonna see these tacticalers coming out. Love seeing them coming out from both of these teams. Really great way to keep the pace of a game up.
Yeah, and I'm kind of surprised we've only had one score about 3 minutes into this game, but Blitzwave able to hold on to some more map control, but really having a trouble finding their footing, getting a push. We see ZESTFEST trying to push in that power claim. That is going to be the Splash who is trying to push forward. We see the Gal now with 7 clams firing that wall, maybe thinking about getting that clam that is going to go away now, but just one more for a power clam. And this is still just kind of a coin flip, and if it ends in quote-unquote a tie, it's going to go in ZESTFEST's favor, but Blitzwave still on the move, trying to make a push.
Yeah, and this is definitely a map where it can be really hard to push in on. We are seeing ZESTFEST managing to get in a second clam here, but it doesn't seem like they'll be able to easily get any follow-up, especially with all the walls coming out here from ZESTFEST. It makes it really hard for Blitzwave to be able to move in around these power clams. And it's not an easy map to push on. There are 2 ways you can always be seen, and you have to fight from low ground. It's a map where you typically want some buckets. Shooters do fine here because shooters do fine everywhere, but they don't play around the map's trigonometry super well. But it does seem like we might see lead switch here, but no, not quite. That's just too awkward of an angle for the 52 gal to be able to make it in.
Yeah, sometimes when you're just too close to the basket, it ricochets off the wall and can't go in. So unfortunately for Blitzwave, that was going to be a missed opportunity for them to take the lead. And right now, ZESTFEST still having control of mid, has the cooler in mid. No specials for them online yet, but we see some trades here. And of course, trades are only going to benefit the team that is in the lead at this moment. So ZESTFEST doing a really good job just keeping control of mid, getting some key picks. Still no claims, right? Oh yes, they do have a power play. That's going to be the Gal who's trying to push in, able to score. We see the NZAP has to fall up, and there's going to be another one in. That's going to be a wipeout, but not before getting to 40.
Yes, but that will also give Blitzwave a pity clam that they need to be able to get into basket, but nobody's quite grabbed it. We are seeing a power clam be made here by the 52 gal. They're gonna have that whale ready relatively quickly. It's a special that they can get pretty quick. Those tri-strikes not gonna really be able to help them get in, and they're 2 down. They only have 20 seconds to do this. You have 20 seconds once the overtime counter starts in Clam Blitz, and this is just gonna be really hard for them to get in at this point. They don't have much time to work with.
They really don't, and they finally pick up that pity clam as we see the NZAP pushing forward. We're going to see the Carbon trying to push forward too. Carbon is going to go in. They are going to score, not in time. No, overtime is going to end with the football still spinning in the basket. Oh, those are the moments that are just so hard when they don't work out in your favor. And ZESTFEST holding on by a thread at the end of that match, winning, or at the end of this game, winning game 2.
Yeah. It's always such a heartbreaking situation when you're on the team that happens to, because it's like, oh, if we had reacted a quarter second faster, because I believe it takes, I could have the numbers wrong here, but I believe it takes about 1 second for the power clam to break into the basket. So it's really not much time, and it's a matter of just those slight changes in reaction times. And you see this happen at pretty much every level. I'm pretty sure I've seen it happen at every level of play, at least.
Yeah, oh, certainly. And that's the hard part, because you always think when you throw your power clam in, that's your gateway, that's your in. But no, you have to wait for that second. You always have to count for that second. And when you're the defending team, overtime clam blitz is the longest. I don't know how long in particular it lasts, 20-ish seconds. It's 20. 20 seconds. That is the longest 20 seconds of your life, whereas you're the attacking team, that is the shortest 20 seconds of your life, because you are trying so hard to get that basket broken open. But yeah, just one of those moments where 21 seconds is just a little too late.
It is, and it's always like, this is a hard thing to bounce back from mentally, because you're so close to winning on your counter pick, you're so close to getting what you want, and also they almost had that push to 60. And if they had just been a step further back, it's a hard thing to mentally bounce back from.
It certainly is. It really is. So one more counter, or not one more counter pick, but another counter pick coming up from Blitzwave, as they can still really choose whatever they want. Theoretically, I believe they could go back to Claim Blitz Humpback. To keep you updated on the other side of the bracket, Fatal Air did defeat Scarlet Inc. 3-0 to put Fatal Air into the finals. So the winner of this between Blitzwave and ZESTFEST will be moving on to face Fatal Air. As we have our counter pick in, it is going to be Rainmaker on Sturgeon Shipyard.
Yeah, Rainmaker Sturgeon is always such an interesting map. I think a lot less people go for jump now than they used to. I've found it to be way less consistent in this game due to how the checkpoints are set up.
Yeah, I think so too. It's like initially it looks good, and maybe, you know, there are definitely situations where it works out, but you have to have kind of the stars aligned to really bank on that push. You know, if the focus of the fight is over on the right side and you want to push it over towards the left, that's a great way to get that checkpoint, but sometimes it's hard to be in a position to know what the next steps are from there.
Yeah, and it's also a map that can get pretty snowbally in just about every mode, I'd say, just because of how those fights near spawn are set up.
Yeah, it really can be, and we've seen all too often where players are just like pushing up towards the spawn, and again, not having a great opportunity to break in and get some players that are standing on your side. Taking a look at these comps, we are going to see the Rapid Deco come out on the side of, I believe that is going to be Blitzwave, and the Tri-Stringer come out on the side of ZESTFEST.
I do love seeing that Tri-Stringer come out. Definitely a good map for it. You can play around those walls a ton, but that Rapid is actually going to give them quite a hard time being able to play around the walls in a different way, but still a very powerful way. And those Tetras are going to be an interesting force to see.
That's right. 2 players now going to go down on Blitzwave. 2 players down on ZESTFEST as well. Nobody grabbing the Rainmaker quite yet, as nobody has solid control of mid just yet. We are going to see the Tetris trying to push up and splat somebody in Fight Club, where there were some bombs waiting for them. 2 players down on ZESTFEST, but they are going to be opting to take this and dropping it all the way to 80 at this point just to try and get a push going.
I really like that grab out of ZESTFEST. It really allows them to stall it out, to get their teammates to respawn, and keep up pressure while essentially Blitzwave just has to kind of give up Rainmaker for a second, and somebody snuck behind and managed to grab. I bet that was probably the Tetra jumping into where that Neo Splash was for a while.
Yep, you called that exactly. Just the sneaky, I'm going to pick this up. This is something we saw exactly in Proving Grounds last night, actually. Just that play of, hey, the rest of your players are focused on pushing up. One player is going to get that flank and jump in and try and extend the lead. And a very nice play, again, to just kind of keep the stall going, letting your teammates kind of regroup.
Yeah, and it's showing off really great awareness on ZESTFEST's part. They've been able to play off of these really small opportunities incredibly well, even when they're technically in a disadvantage, which is awesome to see. We do see the Tetra go down there. Seems like they're having to regroup and mid a bit here, and neither checkpoint's fallen, so this is really a very even game right now.
It really is, because Rainmaker does not matter until you finally break that checkpoint. Any player, any team can push towards that first checkpoint, but we have seen matches that kind of end in not a stalemate, but it's a battle towards the first checkpoint, and seeing what can move on from there. And right now, I believe ZESTFEST still doing just such a good job just kind of controlling, even though they haven't always had the player advantage, they've just been able to keep up this pressure the whole time.
Yeah, and I will say a big part of that is them having that tri-stringer up so consistently for everyone to jump into. It allows them to play a really skirmishy style comp, especially with the amount of paint the tri-stringer can put out while they're up.
And we are almost approaching that halfway mark where ZESTFEST is still pushing this Rainmaker. Blitzwave finally picking it up for the first time, taking it towards the right side. Not going to net any points just yet, as brought back just to mid with 2 players down. ZESTFEST still able to get a few picks here and there, but Blitzwave actually taking a little bit more control of the map, and I think this is what they need to do, but no, not without 3 players going to go down. It is just going to be the Splattershot who's unfortunately going to go down for them. So now we have our first wipeout here as ZESTFEST able to pick up the Rainmaker and make another push.
They're setting up for that right side push like we were talking about earlier. That's where we've been consistently seeing them go for. It's a way safer path to take. You get more tries at it, and it's less punishing if it gets stuck there. And we do see the T-Tech managing to get that trade, just the 52 gal up. Probably going to try and back up to get that Tetra in that splash, a jump back into mid.
Yeah, so again, just really just touching it to 97 for Blitzwave is not going to really fare them for now, but yeah, ZESTFEST still trying to push forward. And you know, I am kind of amazed that we haven't seen any checkpoint yet, but this just goes to show how close and how skirmishy these battles are. A ton of 1v1s going on, and I think this is going to be a nail biter all the way to the end, Nox.
It definitely seems like it will be. I love seeing how this 52 gal's playing here, just keeping up this constant pressure, looking to try and find a pick on this crab, not going to quite be able to, as we are now seeing Blitzwave looking to move forward, starting to be able to find some space, and they do not need to find much here, and they notice that this path was open, and that's going to be checkpoint going to them.
Yeah, and these are what we talk about with the opportunities that are just presented to you. Nobody has opted to take it towards this left side just yet, and Blitzwave able to do that. The battle was just so focused on mid the entire time that one of the member from Blitzwave was like, hey, we can pick it up. We can finally take it on this left side. And of course, with 4 minutes in, getting the checkpoint is what's going to get them the lead.
Yeah, and that really is what it comes down to sometimes. And we are seeing 3 members go down on the side of ZESTFEST, just crungle up, trying to stay alive. Might almost be better to just go down here, though. But the Tetra's able to come in, able to get a pick, allowing them to stay up a little bit longer. We're seeing them try to move forward. There are still 20 seconds left. It's nowhere near game. It's not many points past checkpoint. It's not impossible to do by any means, especially as they force that jump out, so they should be able to get pop here.
Yeah, that was such a close jump out too, and ZESTFEST able to pick up the Rainmaker. This might be their last hurrah, avoiding that splat bomb. They are rushing towards this checkpoint, but no, going to go down to what I believe is going to be the Zuka. Can they get the pop in time to contest? No, they cannot, and Blitzwave will be getting their first game win in this set.
Yeah, really incredible gameplay there out of Blitzwave to just keep their composure and manage to see that tiny opportunity on top left there and manage to take it. That is a risky move, but when you know that it's going to work, it's worth taking.
Yeah, you know, it's amazing what we can try and speculate and expect from a Rainmaker match, because there are some maps and some matches that you get to the first checkpoint, the other team gets to the first checkpoint both within a minute, and then it's just like a blitz to the blitz to the final podium at that point. But this one, it just had so much back and forth. that every moment had to be precise for both of these teams. And Blitzwave just opting to take it up to the left side, identifying that most of the members from ZESTFEST were just focused on mid, maybe focused on the right side, and being like, hey, we just need the checkpoint to take the lead. We can worry about anything after that. We want the lead right now.
Yeah, and that's all that matters in the end. It doesn't matter how many picks you get. It doesn't matter how much map control you have. If you get the lead and you can hold it, you've won the game.
And now ZESTFEST will be having a counter pick of their own. Believe they cannot choose Clan Blitz or Humpback for this one, nor Zones or Mako Mart. So Rainmaker, Tower Control, looks like those are going to be their only two options for this one. Personally, I'd love to see Tower just because we haven't seen that mode yet. But hey, I'm all for whatever they want to choose.
Yeah, I definitely could see them wanting to pick either way. I will say that Tower tends to be a mode people tend to like better when they play the way ZESTFEST plays. It seems like they really like those very consistent pushes that they can keep going and keep going. Yeah, they can just continuously keep it rolling. And Tower Control and Zones are especially good at that, which might be why we saw them dominate Mako so much.
Yeah, especially with Tower, you don't really need to try anything fancy. I would say it's the mode 2 where, you just kind of got to win your 1v1s, and it's really, you can't control the pace of the tower just as long as you have somebody on it to keep it going. But you're right. I think with their play style, that could work out. But they are going to be opting to go to Splat Zones as their counter pick. So maybe I was incorrect with the assumptions of what was allowed. Yeah. They cannot, so we will not be seeing Splat Zones. Never mind. Even we will be getting a new map and mode here. So yeah. We'll be interested. And as far as I'm concerned, the only ones that they can choose will be either Rainmaker or Tower Control.
Yes, and it's definitely like it. These teams, this is probably their first time ever needing to worry about counter picks. It's a new system to them, and it's a lot to think about, especially in the heat of the moment. It is stressful the first time you ever do counter picks, and it gets slightly less stressful over time, but it's always a little high stakes, at least to me.
It is, and these are where you just kind of test and feel again. What do we think we're most confident on? Of course, that's always how you want to approach it. You're not quite in the phase of how well do we know our opponents, but you have also played 3 games against them at this point, so there are things that you can kind of pick up and learn from your opponents on what you want your counter pick to be. But with kind of a plethora of different stages that are at your disposal, it could be very interesting as far as what their approach is.
Yeah, definitely could be. I do think that I could see them picking Tower over most other modes. And they're going to want to do something that favors an anchor because they have been consistently running those anchors.
Yeah, that's right. And I love we talked about the Expo pick. We talked about the Tri-Stringer pick. I just kind of want to see what else that they can pocket and have as a backline to really see how well they can push forward. But once again, game point for ZESTFEST. If they win, they will be moving on to the finals to face Fatal Air. Blitzwave hoping to get this win to keep this set alive and forcing a potential reverse sweep that could be in the making. Yeah,
always exciting to see a reverse sweep. Blitzwave will be out, like you just said, if they lose this game, and so they do know that they are completely out of counter picks at this point, and that's always a scary situation to be in.
It is, and they, luckily for them, at least there is I don't want to speculate on what's going to happen next, but there is a 3rd place game that will be going on, but it's not a true double elimination tournament that we sometimes see here in the Splatoon community. So still trying to figure out what they want to pick, and it looks like that is going to be in. We are going to see Tower Control Hagglefish. And Nox, you were mentioning just kind of about how well this looks like it's catered towards their team. I think this map in particular could look very well for them.
Yeah, it definitely seems like a map where they could be pretty comfortable. I'd love to see that heavy deco come back here. I'd love to see something other than just shooters come out from the rest of their players, but I'm not necessarily expecting it. The only reason I say that is this map does so well with buckets and things like Splatanas. But obviously, shooters still do great here. They do great everywhere. That's their whole thing.
The shooter privilege
yes,
in Splatoon 3 at this moment.
All the Splatoons, really.
In all the Splatoons, that's right. Yeah, so, you know, with this mode in particular, a lot of the checkpoints centered around the canopies up on the side, so we'll see how well these teams utilize that. We're going to see the Rapid Deco come out once again. The backline weapon of choice is going to be the Tri-Stringer once again by Krungle.
And I do like seeing that junior pick coming out here. I think that having that big bubbler will be useful here, especially because there's not a lot of weapons that can really shred it too quickly coming out from the side of Blitzwave.
That's right. There really isn't. We do see just, you know, Blitzwave having the shooters, having you know, your quote unquote range backline weapon as the Rapid, but you know, we'll see how well they can utilize that. A lot of paint output really from both teams. I think especially with the help of the junior from ZESTFEST, that's going to help them out a lot. And first to take the tower, just to touch it, it seems like it's going to be ZESTFEST, with 3 of their members going down. Just a Tri-Stringer who's alive, who is on that right tent, trying to get a kill whale to spot any of the players and getting them, but not without an inch head just in their face.
Yeah, but it did allow them to really stall out that tower while their teammates respawn. Interesting attempt to get in there from the junior, not going to quite work out for them. We are seeing this 52 really wanting to hold this left side. It is a solid spot for them. They do manage to trade out that splatter shot, which removes at least the threat of that Trizuka for now. But that is 2 down again for ZESTFEST. They're having a hard time finding their footing here.
Yeah, they are, especially with this paint output that Blitzwave seems to be doing. And we talk about how important map control is, but map control in front and around the tower is just as important, so you don't have any players just sneaking up and ambushing and meleeing you. And we see just quickly kind of getting to that first checkpoint. Blitzwave doing a good job with that right now, but unfortunately for them, not able to really progress anything from there.
Yeah, interesting timing on these trip strikes here. I love seeing, once again, ZESTFEST is really good at capitalizing when they get the opportunity to move forward. That big bubbler on tower going to enable them to do a lot. They're already 2 down. They have and Krungle's getting pushed really hard by that splatter shot, so they need to find a way to clear them out here. They've got a teammate helping out. Not going to be able to clear them out before they get a pick there, but the tower is still right now on the favor of ZESTFEST, and they're going to be able to clear this checkpoint, I'm fairly sure, since the Tri-Stringer can apply so much pressure to that top right.
Yeah, and Tri-Stringer just wisely, they were the only weapon too that could identify who was under that under the tent on the left side too, and really just apply some pressure and get some splats. So that was the perfect person to have on the tower to just try and apply some pressure and push forward. And that's going to be 2 down on the side of Blitzwave, as this tower still in possession of ZESTFEST, but they are struggling just a little bit. Lucio the junior underneath that right tent, a very hard position to be in to stay alive. They are going to go down, but not before getting all the way to 38.
Interesting to see this 52 gal pushed up this far. It's a risky position to be in, but it will prevent that flank out from the T-Tac and get a trade with that splash, allowing a decent chance here for both teams. Well, both teams just kind of stuck in neutral a little bit. Neither of those weapons want to move forward super quickly. We are going to see this Inkjet get popped here to try and displace that Tri-Stringer. They've definitely found Krungle to be a nuisance throughout these games, it seems like. And I feel like the Rapid pick was a lot to try and get Krungle out of position plenty of the time.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's really what you got to go for too, especially on this map too. Just like trying to identify where the backline is and take them out, and put them in a position that they're going to be uncomfortable with. But this tower push is still not apparently over by Blitzwave, as one of their members using their special, still in slight control of mid, but not before ZESTFEST able to get 2 picks and get more control of the zone here, or get control of mid, as they are trying to clean up just a little bit, painting on all sides of the map, trying to identify some flanks. They are on the tower making a push with 2 players pushing up. One of them is going to go down. That's going to be the junior who's going to go down, as one of their members now going to retreat. 2 of their members pushed over on this left side, trying to strike and get some paints, and it looks like they're doing such a good job. It is just going to be the shot who's alive, who's now pushing back towards that right side. And are they going to be able to jump out in time? No, they're not. So ZESTFEST, for them, that was a very key position to be in with just 1 minute remaining.
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems like they're really going to be able to start moving forward here, managing to trade out that T-Tech for the Gout. But that's still a kind of awkward position, still a 3v3. The bubbler coming out from this junior to try and force some points. But they still don't have anyone really clearing out that top right. And with the crowd there, they're just going to have to wait it out. Then again, they don't have to mind waiting in this situation, especially because that Neo Splash of theirs can have Tri-Strikes ready to end the game very quickly.
Yeah, exactly. You just want to hold onto the strikes, and that's what's kind of one of the rough parts about when you're down in tower control, when you have, opponents that either have tri-strikes, a booyah bomb. You know that they are saving that special for kind of the GG ending push. So they are going to be holding on to that and trying to build it up. I was going to say, as only none of them have their specials ready who can have kind of a lethal push. But here, Blitz Wave, 3 players down, going to have to back up. And it's going to be really hard for them to break in, as ZESTFEST seems to be rolling into the grand finals here of LSL 30.
Yeah, really great gameplay there out of them. ZESTFEST doing an incredible job of knowing how to play off of each other and taking full advantage of all of their specials, really. They do a great job moving up with their whales, using those bubblers to force points that they otherwise can't. They played a really great game, and it's not that Blitzwave didn't play well. ZESTFEST just knew how to play off of each other. It seems like a little bit better.
Yeah, it kind of got that early push going, and I think too with this map, it's expected that people are going to flank. It's expected that you're going to have a flank, and you always have to be on the lookout for it. And what ZESTFEST did really well too was just identifying who kind of the backline player was for Blitzwave, which was the rapid deco of, okay, we need to take them out first and kind of work backwards from there to make sure that nothing funky is going to happen. So yeah, ZESTFEST really doing such a good job, especially in that last game, and taking the set 3-1, will be moving on to face Fatal Air in the finals.
Yeah, and that should be a very exciting game. I'm really interested in seeing what they do.
Me too. And looking at the silver bracket right now, it looks like they're getting started for their finals, and that is Grizzco Workers Union versus Whiplash. So the winner, I believe they have not started yet. In the third place match happening in the silver bracket is Umani versus Ufish, with Ufish leading 1-0.
I will say, I'm surprised that Grizzco's Workers Union isn't doing big run right now, but I guess Mr. Grizz didn't want to work with their union right now.
Sometimes it's... I kind of would agree with that. I would agree. I was like, you know what? Yeah, I'm surprised they're not there. I'm surprised Grizz hasn't come down on them. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're a union. They could be on strike.
That's very true. That's very true.
Mr. Grizz isn't known to pay great wages.
Yeah. It looks like we're going to take a quick break here before we get started into our grand finals match. But once again, that is going to be the matchup between the team we just saw, ZESTFEST, versus Fatal Air, who got that 3-0 win over Scarlet Inc. So you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with LSL 30.